don't come now with Engineer Debo to give you nothing but the best as far as the real estate world is concerned. Gadebo Ede Gbangba Gidigba to the guide us on top the one we don't start since Tuesday last week. That is one we get to do with demolition and building collapse. That is how to prevent it. Good morning once again, sir.
Good morning, Chief.
Sir.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Trust you're doing fine.
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. Good morning, viewers. How are you out there? I'm sure you're enjoying yourself and you're liking the weather. Yeah, so we started housing, something on housing collapse tips,
yes, yes, how to prevent.
Tips on how to prevent
building
housing collapse and demolition. Okay.
Well, I think we should start on this note, sir. Over the week, we have seen what became of the places demolished as the buildings in Ajao, where scavengers took over the place, and while the owners of the property were busy wailing and crying, some were making, would I say, ends meet as a scavenger?
Yeah.
Would I say they are really making ends meet from that? Because that won't be the latest way news they carry now.
Yeah.
So it boils down to where we've been draw the curtain last week. Say why person go do something? We be say at the end of the day, now still back to square one.
So that's, I mean, it's why we said you must do everything to avoid finding yourself in that situation. You know, and that includes ensuring that you are on the right side of the law when you are acquiring properties. I think people need to realize that property acquisition in any part of the world is very close to governance, very close to legitimacy, very close to economy. You know, it's very close to the heart of any government when you talk about property acquisition, whether you are acquiring for private or for public use. You know, the overall effect has impact on the economy of that country, has impact on security in that country, has impact on a lot of things. So the government cannot really afford to, to look elsewhere, to look away from what is happening in that place. And in our own environment, particularly in Nigeria, the law governing property is Land Use Act, okay? And that law requires that for rural areas, chairman, for states, governor, and for federal government properties, the minister of housing, you know, have these properties almost in trust, or the president have this property in trust, holding this property in trust for people. And any transaction on land, on property, must be consented to for it to be legal by these parties if your property is situated within their area of jurisdiction. Rural area for local government chairman, states, urban areas for state governors, and federal government, the president or the minister of housing, you know. So, if you are then doing property transaction, you must make sure that you derive legitimacy as much as possible from that. Now, unfortunately, in our own environment, because of a lot of reasons, sometimes because of the cost of getting this perfected, or the time it takes, or the bureaucracies involved, or even the lack of knowledge about it, a larger percentage of properties owned by people are not perfected legally. You understand? Yes. They are not perfected legally. So that, again, creates a problem. You understand? That, again, creates a problem. Because even if you own a property, you understand, in a place, and you've done your due diligence, or if you know that you need to perfect, is the best place to start. Because you then know that, okay, to even buy at all, you need to be sure that what you are buying is something that you can perfect.
Okay, Engineer Debo,
do you understand?
Do you know, sir, that, speaking of this perfect, do you know
Perfection.
That, yes, people prefer to perfect their documents with the so-called omonile than with government? literally saying now that people are afraid of when Omonile says, tí sanwó lẹ́wà pé, or you never do this one. Do you know that we normally answer to their call than asking, do I even have a C of O? What does it take to do a C of O? But if Omonile calls now on the phone and says, 500,000 wa tó kù ńkọ́, the fear at which we answer to them, I don't know. I want us to look at that too, because we are still believing. I know that this land still comes from Omonile, Odu, Iwe-Ebi. After the Iwe-Ebi, they would now start, processing other things. But should that even be the first thing? Because every land buyer now sees Omonile as the first thing, that I will pay their money for the land, I will do Iwe-Ebi, collect family receipts before you now even start survey or CFO.
Well, that's the procedure actually. I mean, you have to buy, if you are buying from, if they are the ones you are buying from.
But is that supposed to be the real thing? Is it not first even knowing the status of the land?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm coming there. So if they are the ones you are buying from, they are the ones you have to pay to.
Yes.
Right? So, and you have to ensure that you've paid fully. Yes. So that nobody is contesting your ownership going forward. Now, but when they say we are selling this place, before you even start paying them, that's what we talked about last week. You need to do due diligence, which is to find out whether, one, this place that they are talking about that you should come and buy is something that you should buy or you can buy as per what the government says. If it is something that you can buy or you should buy as per what the government says, that's one. That helps you. Then you then also check whatever purpose you are buying it for. Is it what you can put on that land as per what government also says regarding building regulation? If that also checks out, then that's another. Do you understand? Before you now start dealing with Omonile and buying from them, and when you finish, you collect necessary papers from them to proceed to government to then perfect your title. That's just the process that people should follow. But I know that, because their own concern or interest comes at the inception of your transaction, a lot of people take it to be more important, and their own are fire for fire. You understand what I'm saying? If you don't pay, you stand to lose the land and something like that. So people, and they are on ground, people try to ensure that they fulfill their own terms more than that of government, because government will not say, most of the time, they are not that much on ground to say that you should not build, you should not do this.
But they will warn,
but they will warn, and then they can stop you after you have started, and then people find their way around some things.
Because normally see one red mark.
And they think they can continue, and then when push now comes to shove, government has to demolish.
Wait till be those things where you feel do where go make government demolish your property. It's a big way go even make the property itself collapse. Now what they do, and we don't give some tips on how to prevent building demolition. Debo, over to you, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked a lot and extensively about building demolition. So
you stopped at say make person check the land, make you know the status.
Yeah.
After the.
I'm talking about even from last week. So make you know the status, then you can be sure that you can build. Then when you do designs. Okay, so you move on to your design, what you want to build there. You also need to ensure that you get approval. Okay, and once you get approval, ensure that what you get approval for is also what you are building on site. These are areas by which you can have challenges with government, and they can come and say stop work or remove this part of your building. Your setback is not as you've approved, or things like that.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
On story buildings and floors and what have you.
Okay.
Is it true, and I stand to be corrected, is it true that say if person won't build house now, if the digging where they dig now for one story, person know if you do 2 story, that's one. Then number 2, does the foundation even have anything to do with number of stories where person if he go? So be like the floor is there to carry anything.
I love the way you talk about it. If the dig where they dig now for one story.
Yeah, there's somebody can do us. I don't know if that's
okay, so there is something that is called structural engineering in construction. Okay. When they design your foundation, Of course, the size and structure of your foundation is determined by what it's going to carry.
Wow.
It's not just about land. You see, land is a part of what you are trying to do, of what will carry your property. Land is a part. The nature of that land, of that ground, of that soil, will determine the type of foundation that will rest in it. You need a stable ground for property to rest on. And apart from it being stable, depending on the number of stories or weights that property is going to carry, is what will inform the kind of foundation design that you are going to have. So when they design your foundation, they design it according to both the life and the dead weight that the property will be carrying. You understand? So it definitely informs that the digging, if I use your word, the digging where you go do is dependent on the number of floors or stories that your property will carry. It depends. But now structural engineer go do that one, especially when what you are building is beyond a bungalow. You need the input of a structural engineer more significantly. Let's put it that way. It's not as if you don't need it for the bungalow, but more significantly, you need it when you are building higher floors.
Okay, now rainy season we won't enter now. I be make I even talk say we don't enter.
We don't enter.
We don't enter. And now the time when most people they won't collect house with this because they know say the secret of every house. And now person go. Two questions, sir. If person see building, mo fẹ́ gbalé nísìn I wan enter this house. I can't see crack. No greet dogma man lanu. You understand? Some houses they get line. No be say they don't break, I mean they get line. Some if they get wet, we be say the paint, you or down you to be as if say water I no pour for the but from the ground is this a pointer? Say the house if it collapse at any time. Is this enough reason for me as a person to say no, I can't put my wife and children here? Or that line where we see for a wall, now something will be say na normal crack, they feel partial, you know me say building won't collapse.
Okay. So there is what you call cosmetic cracks. You understand? Like cosmetics, powder you apply on your face.
Yeah.
You know women put foundation on their face.
Yeah.
So if that foundation break, say anything where they put on top of her, it no go start. It go also break. Do you understand? But cosmetic crack is, and if a foundation of a woman's face breaks, doesn't mean that her face
We break.
has broken. Do you understand? So if something be cosmetic crack, say like the plaster, the cement where they use plaster, the something, they divide, now they fall, now they crack. You way they see those cracks. That one no really mean much. But there are cracks that are structural. There are cracks that affect the integrity of a building. You understand? They go beyond just the surface. For example, if you see the pillar carrying a house cracking, that is not cosmetic. Do you understand? That has started to become structural. And you see this a lot, even a house that is plastered or not. You see this a lot around the edges, the corners where the pillars are, or where the beams are, or the slab. You understand? Okay. So if you observe such cracks within structural members, load-carrying members of a property, load-carrying members it could even be wall, but it's carrying load. You understand? They are the ones that some things rest on. That's what we call load-carrying members. Some things rest on them. Some of the building component, maybe higher, rest on them. Usually, if it is in a frame structure, like skeleton, human beings, we have skeletons. Skeletons are structure. And then all our organs, biological organs, are then positioned inside that thing. Say once somebody bone break, it go get problem. It go get problem. Whether na leg, whether na hand, whether na this, it go get problem. So the frame is a structure, is a skeleton of a building. If any part of it breaks, the house can collapse. It can lead to collapse depending on the part of it that is breaking and what is causing that breakage. You understand? So that's what people need to realize. But if it is just the plastering, You understand? That is breaking. That's cosmetic. You can just chip those things off and replaster properly, or just use putty. That's what they say, putty to fill it.
Putty.
Putty to fill it, and then it could be, yeah.
House sinking, very peculiar in areas like Isheri, very peculiar in some other areas.
Water-prone areas, waterlogged areas,
yes.
water-prone areas,
yes. So
swampy areas.
House sinking. Most people, out of the desperation, say, no house, anyone can carry. They go see, say, this house, the ground is different from the entrance. And you see the entrance, say this thing, but yet, out of the shortage for abode that we are experiencing, some people will see collector. My question now, how do we prevent house sinking? Most people won't build for this kind waterlogged areas.
Okay, how can you prevent that? It also speaks to you engaging professionals properly. So both professionals to do your designs and the builders that are building for you on site is very important. A lot of times, so any house that you build anywhere settles. You understand? Anywhere there is settling in any structure. But when you build a house properly, okay, the settlement you won't even notice because it will be in micro, nano kind of meters or something like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it won't be obvious. But when you don't, for example, prepare the ground very well for a house, you don't do the foundation very well, you build the house might settle in a way that it will be obvious. In fact, some of them will settle in a way that is not even. So you see the house turn this way, or turn that way, or turn that way, or turn like this. You know, the house will not be straight again after some time because some part of it are settled beyond the other because the foundation is not properly done. Maybe they did not allow, when they move sand into it, like you said, it's common with water-prone areas. When they filled the side, they did not allow for proper ramming or for the sand to even settle before they start the construction and all of those things.
There is this cliche. I don't want to say it's a proven fact because until you actually talk about it, say anywhere where water deal and person one floor you must use cement. Say man you bag cement in cement. No say you go even cut the cement to say, but you throw the cement in bags there. Is that really the appropriate thing, or there's a standard that you have to do? Unlike the scary assumption they give us that once there's water in one place, for you to have a good settlement there, you have to buy cement in bags and start throwing it there until you have a solid foundation. Or is there a technical way, an approved way that you can use?
You want to build somewhere and there is water.
And there is water.
You buy cement.
That's what we are being made to understand.
Literally.
In bags. Yes, in bags. And you start throwing it there without even cutting the bag.
So what is that supposed to
They
achieve?
said it gives you a solid foundation, that the cement will soak the water and you have a perfect foundation. Knowing full well that if water and cement actually comes.
So maybe they are trying to build a bungalow at best. Probably they are trying to build bungalow. So what are you going to pour cement on? You're going to pour on the entire area that you want to build. You throw
the
cement.
Bag of cement. For instance, you are looking at a plot or half a plot.
Okay.
And the place obviously is swampy.
Yeah.
So they said the best thing to do in situation like that is to buy cement in bags and they start throwing it on.
If a place is swampy, you have to know that it's not just your own plot that is swampy, or you've condoned off, you fenced around the place.
Yes.
So you now throw cement bag on all your own plots to be able to build. That cost me.
That's why they call them Olowora.
Well, that
Olowora means
maybe
for you to build inside a swampy place,
you have money.
You have the money.
Yeah,
yes.
It is more costly actually to build in a swampy place, because one of the things you must do that I know of is you would sandfill the place.
Okay.
You understand? You sandfill the place and you would test the soil. Okay? You do soil test to actually know the type of foundation. They will analyze the soil. To actually know the type of foundation you should do on that land. Most of the time, depending on the number of floors you want to go, if you are going a number of floors and the type of soil, depending on the stability of the soil. You may have to do pile foundation, meaning that they will have to almost do like, you can say, columns that are inside the ground, that will go inside the ground deep enough to touch where the ground is stable. So that they will get where the ground is stable and do all those columns like that, and they are the ones that will now carry the structure you are building. Because there is load transference when you are constructing. What you are doing is that everything happening in that property, you are transferring it to the ground.
Sure.
So there is how they must be connected and linked that will transfer properly.
And they must be balanced.
Yes, that will transfer properly. Otherwise, if it's not properly done, that's where you see house sitting and all of that.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Engineer Debo. We don't learn one or two things, and it will come your way again next week where they say
bye.
Shine your light.